It's all going to go wrong. Good morning and welcome to another Kerfuffle webinar here. Delighted to have the team, a full team today from SDL Auctions. We have in the top corner, looking resplendent there, the White Witch herself, and I meant that in a nice way, Louise. How are you? You're doing all right? Okay.
Very well, thank you.
You haven't done all that for us, have you? I mean, that's...
Come on, it's not any old Tuesday morning, it's a kerfuffle morning.
Kerfuffle morning, brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent. In bottom right-hand corner, we've got Andrew Parker. Andrew, how are you? You're doing well as well. Nice minimalist tree. That's it, classy.
Yes, all good, Simon. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. And then we've got the Grinch Dale. You haven't gone for anything there.
Oh.
You're just
letting the side down big time.
Excellent, guys.
I like a blank canvas.
What a perfect marketing sort of response there to get us kicked off. Guys, we're here to talk about your rebrand during obviously lockdown 2.0, but one of the things that is probably a bit of a sort of open-ended question, isn't it, is can you just talk us through what's 2020 been like for you guys, just as an overview? Who wants to kick us off? No one. Okay, thank you for having SDL.
Come on, you steer this ship. Come on.
I'm happy to kick us off, but we did have a preamble. Okay, 2020 has been what a year.
Yeah,
and it's mixed feelings really to sound celebratory in any way. Whilst it's been such a tough year for all of us, but for some people it'll be tougher than others. From an auction point of view, we've had an outstanding year. We had an outstanding year with our partners in our partnership business, and we've had an outstanding year in direct instructions as well. So we've learned a lot, we've come a long way, and we've got a lot done. So I'm proud of what we've done as a team during that time. But yeah, it's been what a year, and it's one that we certainly won't forget, Simon, is it?
No, well, I hope we don't. You know, if we go into 2021 and it's more eventful, we're not gonna cope, are we? Really? Anyway, that's good. Am I right in thinking that auctions, given the stodgy nature of obviously normal sales pipelines at the moment, is now the right time for auctions more than ever?
Absolutely. I think the speed and certainty that you get from an auction sale at a time of uncertainty, when people want something that they can rely on, I think auctions it is one thing that you can rely on, to give you that peace of mind that you've not only have you sold what it is that you've chosen to sell, but as a buyer you've also got to buy it. I'm sure there are lots of people at the moment who are really scared about their stamp duty savings, where they believe they bought something, and yeah, they bought it subject to contract. And there's a lot of work to be done from that point to the point of completion, and they're probably pretty scared that they're not going to get that benefit. So absolutely, Simon, I think auctions more now than ever is something that gives people what they want.
Absolutely. And so on the back of obviously 2020 and all the other challenges that we've got there, you've built a national property auction from scratch. How have you managed to find the time to squeeze in a rebrand as well?
Well, luckily we've got that.
Yeah, and unfortunately I'm not working on my own either. There's been a whole group of people, agencies and our own people, working on this for a long time. It's been a long time in the making. To be honest, it comes on the back of several rebrands over the last few years. That's all been part of a wider strategy, I suppose, to build that national brand presence. So we've worked with a couple of really good agencies. Fluid have worked with us, based near us. We've had an agency called VentureStream working on our website, and all the internal team have worked on it really well as well. But there's also been a huge amount of hard work that's had to go in above and beyond doing the sort of the standard business work to generate lots on a monthly basis. So there's been a lot of hard work, but as I say, it's been a long time in the making as well.
Because you don't do it lightly, do you? A rebrand obviously comes with it. It's tremendously exciting when you look at it, but there's also certain baggage. You know, people know us, trust us from the old brand and everything else. So everything has to be weighed up the right time to make that happen.
Yeah, definitely. And we're fortunate we've had two really well-known brands under our umbrella, I suppose, in the Bigwood name and the Graham Penny names. And we've certainly not moved to call ourselves SDL Property Auctions lightly. We've looked at loads of different elements, but Google searches being the main one. We average about 1 million monthly impressions on Google, and we've been sort of hitting up to 1.5, 1.6 million the last couple of months. And of course, we needed to make sure that people weren't going to not find us if they were searching for Graham Penny or Bigwood. But for a good year or so now, searches for SDL relating to auctions have far outstripped Bigwood or Graham Penny combined. So having done all that research, it felt like with the national property auction as well, the time was right to consolidate it, really.
So it sounds a bit like more like when I did a rebrand, and we're going to go pink, heavy pink. You've actually put some analytical. You've clearly looked at the numbers, understood that, and paid attention to why this would work better for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also in marketing, so I'm good at making the numbers tell the story that I want them to tell. But it's definitely had some proper thought behind it too.
And let's have it right. We've also got a bit of pink in there, okay? So we've come away from the red.
It's the most alpha male of all colours. We know that.
It's definitely my favourite colour.
It is. Now, I think there's been I think, we also questioned ourselves as, is this the right time on the back of everything that we've had going on and in the industry at large in 2020? But actually, it was always the plan. And I think because we have, and as you say, we continue to be the most successful live stream auctioneer throughout from the start of lockdown, and it has brought our business on, not without a bit of pain, and everybody's kind of put a shift in. That's an understatement, and that's everybody in the business. But it's taken us to some other opportunities that we didn't have. What were our more traditional kind of ballroom sales were more regionally biased. We were very strong in the East Midlands, in the West Midlands, and in the Northwest. And although we had a national presence, it was more by exception with our clients. And again, through our partnership with Countrywide as well, that's changed because, we have got a much stronger national bias now, and we don't have the constraints of, will those buyers come to that ballroom in South London or, in Huddersfield? I mean, it's not that issue anymore. We've got, from a branding point of view, we, in terms of who we reach from registered bidders, we could have only aspired to have got the amount of registered bidders on a sale in the olden days, in pre-COVID. So we have ridiculous levels of in the 20s and 30,000 views of the auction. In the thousands of registered bidders. And Andy tells the story. We only ever bought 500 paddles in SDL auctions. So. And they never run out, did they, Andy?
Half of those have been stolen.
Yeah, exactly. People pick them because it's nice. It's obviously a good souvenir, isn't it? So we've never run out of paddles, and now we're registering. I think at least 1,500 buyers in the last couple of sales. It was close to 2,000 registered buyers, and they're people who've gone through, we're a heavily compliant business, as we have to be. But, so this isn't just somebody who says, oh, I'm interested in buying. They go through a full proper AML, we ensure they are bid ready. We know that they understand the implications of what they're doing if they are potentially going on to buy. So this isn't just I'm interested. This isn't just watchers. These are people who've put their money where their mouth is and are ready to bid. So that in itself means that we're able to reach more people. So it kind of went full circle to, yes, it's questionable whether we should do this right now when we're all still kind of, busy being swans on the surface, trying to run the business and support our partners as much as we can, as well as our people. But it just felt like it was, like Dale said, this has been What's your marketing terminology of, it's been that brand journey of taking it from that parochial brand? Dale knows more about this than we do, but yeah. It's been a process, isn't it?
Yeah, we've always wanted to build a national brand that has been kind of under that SDL banner, I suppose. And it started with when we brought Graham Penny and Bigwood into that SDL branding by calling them SDL Graham Penny and SDL Bigwood. And then we moved on to have them as a kind of a suffix. So it was SDL Auctions Graham Penny, SDL Auctions Bigwood.
Yeah.
But to be honest, we've had a real opportunity with the national property auction and how well the partner side of the business has been doing, working on their behalf, to use that strategy and almost accelerate it, actually, because of how well this year's gone.
So very much a case then, of all the things you could be doing in 2020, why a rebrand? But very much it was just a case that this was already on the agenda. It was planned for, and it just, if ever, the reasons to do it only increased because of lockdown and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before COVID, we'd already carried out all the research. We'd got the plan, hadn't we? And it was just a matter of whether we stopped the implementation element to that plan or we carried on. And it was absolutely the right thing to carry on. I think all of our partners as well have benefited from the rebrand, because if anything, our red kind of shouty, as Louise would call it, the dominant red everywhere, it was old fashioned, and it drags back to really the days of sale. The colour red tells the story of sale. It doesn't sit with our partners. Branding was much better than ours in a lot of cases, so I think we are much more complementary now, rather than having the bright red.
So they're all pleased with that then. The partners on the whole have seen the
we've had some great feedback from partners about how fresh it looks and engaging it looks.
And we did do a couple of a sort of more long-standing partners that we know locally were very much part of that journey of our tone of voice, because obviously there's two elements to this in terms of us. We white label a lot of what we do for our partner agents. And some of our broader corporate partners as well, where we act on their behalf. They are powered by our functionality and our people and our team. So I always position it as that we are an extension of their business, and it's not to make us famous, but actually it's to give them the credibility of the business behind them that is managing their auction business and conducting their auction business. So for us, it was very important that they kind of embraced the tone of voice. And you know what? I had some fantastic ideas from them as well, in terms of they're the experts in what you must see hundreds and if not thousands of great ways to engage clients from an estate agency's perspective. And it's for us going, actually, we need to listen to them. We've got a unique message, definitely, because it isn't the same as a private treaty sale. It isn't the same process for the vendor or the buyer. And it's not the same for the agent. So there's a few angles at it that we come at it, is that how do we market ourselves to our partners so that they realise that SDL property auctions would be the one that you choose to partnership with, but then how do we help them grow and develop and attract new auction business while supporting their business in that white labeled way? So they were really great, and I hope they continue to be so. We always, case studies are a really good example. Certain partners will be really proactive with saying, right, can you build me this case study now, and I want that story and everything else. And you know what, we have got in Dale and Dale's team behind the scenes are constantly getting requests from our auction experts team or the new business team to say, I need to create this. It's so there's never a no. We have to sometimes sit and think about what's the return. I always flex the muscle of, if we can do it once and apply it often, then we'll be interested in doing it. So if there's a reason for us to support a local message that we can make it sound personal to branch's brand and that business's brand, then that's what we'll do. We can't be all things to all people, but you know, it where we can apply it more often, then that's what we do from a marketing perspective, anyway.
Yeah, and the thing
sorry, go on, Dave.
I was just going to say, ultimately, we really want to support those agents, and I think part of the point of this brand that's been mentioned a couple of times before, but auctions is different for a consumer. We know how much it can help an agent. We know that it can help them turn their pipeline quicker, and that's obviously something we want to help them with. And one of the ways in which we can help them is by helping the consumer to understand that actually, yes, it is different, but it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be that red and shouty brand that we were before. We're a really supportive business in the way in which we help our customers and the customers of our agents. So that's kind of at the heart of what we want to achieve with the new brand and the new tone of voice that pulls through everything, including that white labeled materials that appear in the agents' brands as well.
That's right. I mean, Louise and I have spoken about it previously in terms of, you know, as great as those auction rooms are, they can be very testosterone-driven places, can't they? And actually, I'm guessing the stats will be telling you now there is a much greater prevalence of women accessing the live streams, won't they? Feeling more comfortable to get involved, because quite obviously it isn't the same as it was in the, I don't want to use the olden days because I sound like a teenager, don't I? But that's pretty much what we're talking about now.
Yeah. So from our stats side, I mean, first of all, as Louise says, we get, I think we had 50,000 people log on to our site for the last auction, and as busy as our auction rooms were in the old world, there were never that many people, that's for sure. Yeah. We didn't have any stadiums booked, unfortunately, as good as Andy is on stage, but also that you're right, the demographics are much more similar to your standard property viewing demographics. Really, it's much closer to the sort of female focused demographic that you'd see on Rightmove normally.
And that can only help, can't it? I mean, in terms of getting to the decision makers, getting to the right balance of decision makers, this process, this transparency, this accessibility is only good for all parties, isn't it?
Definitely. And it's not new to us either. We talked about this recently, but we've been doing internet bidding with David Sanderman at EIB for 10 years. So it isn't new. It's just everybody is now, is championing it. Everybody is using it, but we've always had a level of internet bids on our own lots, but it's just become the norm, and has drawn a big. I think what it has done is drawn a bigger crowd. People have had the time and the confidence to get involved.
Yeah, Andrew? What would it have been in the past? You know, those internet bids, as it were. What would they have constituted in terms of the bidding as a percentage?
It was already growing really quickly. So in certain venues, Birmingham as an example, it would be probably 40 to 50% of the lots would have had internet registrations on them. Okay. So it was already growing, and it was starting to gather pace on its own. I think what COVID has done, or the situation's done of behind closed doors, is really accelerated that.
It's hastened everything, hasn't it? It's hastened that change in so many different areas.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just thinking we were able to just carry on. I mean, that Monday night, I think it was, when the announcement was made, we'd got an auction on the Wednesday, we'd got an auction on the Thursday, and we'd got an auction on the Friday. And obviously we were closed, so we were able to get hold of everybody who downloaded legal documents, everybody who'd viewed, and we worked around the clock to make sure that everyone was set up to just carry on.
Really great from a business continuity point of view, just to be able to get those off, given how everything else hit a bit of a brick wall. And we've spoken about the colours, and obviously the fantastic use of pink is my favourite, but I'm not alone in that. Where did the conversation start, though, to obviously include property to be added into the name? What was the thinking behind that?
Well, you would be amazed at the amount of people that were still ringing, even after all these years, even on the Graham Penny number, to say, or a Bigwood number, to say, I've got a dinner service, or I've got a train set. Can I please bring it in for you to give me a valuation?
Yeah, okay.
and it probably accounts for, it's not as much as it was, but it probably still does account for 5, maybe a bit more, 10% of phone calls. So to put the word property in the name, hopefully we'll take out a few calls.
I think that's the problem, though, isn't it? We're all in the game, and we think, well, obviously it's clear to everybody, and we just don't think about it quite so obviously there until you look at those stats where it's made obvious, isn't it, that there is a demographic of the population. Why would they know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, in the office with a tea set, and they bring the tea set in and want to have a conversation about it, and yeah.
If you want to diversify into tea sets, we're screwed now, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's stick to it. But, yeah.
And it was rough when we did the research with the teams. It kept coming up as one of the things that they would love to reduce. And I remember I used to sit on the same floor as the phone guys, and the number of conversations they'd have. But we've had stories about people trying to sell Nazi memorabilia and all sorts of things. So if we can reduce those calls, that's great.
For an edgy brand, there are you?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. Well, I can understand it. It's just why you don't want to be employing a money penny, as wonderful as those people are, just to be fending off an overflow of calls with these just things, isn't it? Okay, that does make perfect sense.
It's interesting because we're again, part of that research, it's, as you rightly said, it's not just as simple as a kind of a logo name change or a pretty colours or anything like that. It's that whole rebrand follows through with the wonderful OCD that Dale has and his team has about our tone of voice as well, and how we show up in all parts of that from a marketing perspective, and some of that you've got my other half mercilessly takes the mickey out of me all the time because we just get caught up in our own jargon because we know what a private treaty sale is, we know what conditional is or unconditional, we know exactly what exchanging contracts is and completion and stuff like that. And you know what, not everybody does. Our customers don't. People don't sell and buy houses that often unless they are doing it from investment processes. And actually, you know what, one of the things that, and this is not me, I think we've been amazed that when we do our sort of education, we've got like a academy program for training with our partner agents as well. And again, that's had a lot of focus this year because we've had the time to go, right, how do we really train and educate our partners to deal with questions from vendors and buyers? And most of that is, stop with the jargon. Stop with the jargon that says, and honest to God, we only just recently a couple of us just lost the plot when we looked at a past email that we used to send out to clients. And oh my God, you needed a degree in property and real estate or surveying to have even understood half of it.
It's a real issue, isn't it? I mean, I remember I was reading his book, I think it was, Elon Musk, the rather lunatic owner of Tesla. But one of the things that really resonated with me, the first thing that he did when he went in there was ban the use of techie acronyms and everything else, because it acts as just a barrier and it's used very much as kind of, you use that and you just bluff your way through. Well, you shouldn't be bluffing. They should be about educating people, shouldn't it? So I'm all for breaking down those barriers over time, isn't it?
Definitely.
And we've got to challenge each other on it actually as well. So I want everybody to challenge it internally and people externally, because we do get caught up in because as you say, because we know it's what we do every day. And as I say, it's been brought to my attention with just David a few times listening to me on the phone and going, what are you talking about even, and it's that sort of thing. But we've just we've had a really exciting time as well, because we've got a class of 2020 that joined us of some apprentices, and they are 3 young ladies have joined the team, and really excited. There'll be some more press on them as well, because they really are. We're excited about their future in the business, and one of the things that I was really at pains to talk to them about is that you know what, challenge us on the nuttiness that we come out with sometimes, because if you don't understand it, then our customers don't understand it and our clients don't understand it. So, you know, please challenge us and please kind of say, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know about it.
You've always got to stop yourself, haven't you? Because often people say, look, there are no stupid questions here. And the minute somebody asks you an inquiry question, what a stupid question. Yeah. Okay. The other thing is, another big change in terms of all this, I believe, is that there's a rumor that you're, really starting to deliver on that promise of the national status as well. Am I right in thinking that Scotland's now a big part of your plans in terms of moving forwards?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working in partnership with lots of people now in Scotland. So you'll see that start to roll out in the coming months. Starting tomorrow, we are holding a white labelled auction for Shepherd's Commercial, with a small number of lots. Some of those we've sold already this morning and last night. But yeah, so that's our first toe in the water north of the border. But we've got.
Has it been a dynamic, Andrew, of the market up there, or has this pretty much not been seen in the Scottish marketplace to date?
There are auctions in Scotland, but not at the same level. They have a completely different process to us in England, and in many ways is better, gives people peace of mind already, and it's a more tightly controlled process. So it's certainly a change.
It's heavily solicitor-led, isn't it, up there in terms of those agencies? Yeah,
it is. So it is different, and we have in-house legal guys, and we've had to put a lot of work in and change our processes to facilitate that. But we're there, and we're good to go, and are now selling property in Scotland.
Excellent.
It is very different, because there is very much an east and west coast divide in terms of it being the instructions, if you like, that we call of people selling their properties through solicitors or estate agents. But again, the fact that there's a home report and how we've linked that in, it's not something we've done lightly or done quickly. It's been quite exhaustive, just from the terms and conditions and the contracts and everything are vastly different because of the process. But again, there is still an appetite for people to sell fast, free, and actually get to the point where they've got a secure sale and nobody has to worry about it. So there's still a need for it. It's probably not as dynamic or different to the private treaty process, like Andy said, because their kind of equivalent private treaty process is more secure, and buyers and sellers go into it with a little bit more information, so but it still very much has a reach. And we've been talking with a number of partners really for the last year, and we've held off launching formally until we were kind of ready. But it seemed the right time. It seemed the right time that says, listen, people are starting to look at the way their business transacts. They're, from a partnership point of view, there will be people who are generally motivated to get a quicker outcome. And that means that they will be more realistic about the price they require. Because something I learned from Mr. Parker very early on is that, not everything will sell at auction. Yep. So let's bust that myth. It's not for every property. But somebody's got to be there and thinking who's going to buy it and why. And those words will always resonate with me at the point that Andy was doing Auctions 101 training with me. It seemed a lifetime ago now, Andy, didn't it?
It was it.
Yeah. But again, it's that sort of thing. It's if people are motivated vendors and they want a quick process to get a secure sale, then it's the only thing that works today, really. And from an agent's point of view, it will deliver real cash to them much quicker than them ever being in that private treaty sale. And that doesn't mean to say that they can turn all their business into auctions. That would not be the right thing to do for this market either. But for the ones it's right for, they get paid within 7 days of acceptance of offer, essentially. So it's even on exchange in many cases. And so, you know what, we just want to kind of make sure people talk about it, but are able to, you know, understand it with as little jargon as possible, but with the confidence of the national brand that we've got. So.
And we were talking just offline in terms of obviously about, you know, you being the UK's most successful live streamed auctioneer. What do you think that brings? Obviously, what does it really mean to your customers to have that in your kit bag?
I think it gives people some confidence to know they're in safe hands. We had some choices to make on that Monday night as to what did we do for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Yeah.
What we could have done is we could have really easily flicked the switch to go to an eBay type model for everything, and that would have been, it literally would have been a flick of a switch, some emails and phone calls to go out, and in many ways would have been, from our point of view, would have been easier for us to do. And whilst lots of people have embraced the internet and lots of people want to bid online and are happy to bid online, there are still some people that would have come to that auction room that, without being, you know, disparaging of anybody, but they would have turned up with a bit of string or a bit of rope around the trousers to hold them up, and they probably don't have a computer at home, and their phone it's one that you ring people on, and you don't do anything else with it. Well, we wanted to look after them too. So I think in the live streamed environment, we've managed to capture that. So we've got the tech, we've got the platform for people to do all the stuff that you would expect to do now. But we're still on hand at the end of a telephone to look after people who want looking after and want their hand holding a bit through it. So for me, the live streamed element that's where it kicked in. We were able to look after people. I mean, on one of the auctions when we were in full lockdown, there was myself, my wife, and my son involved with some team screens with telephone bids at home, and we were able to carry on, you know, in that way. So I'm proud of that when I look back as to what we did. So, and everybody remotely supported that functionality. So for me, that's why the pride in the live streamed element to it, because we didn't just say, oh, you know, plug in the widget and away we go. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the timed digital sale, but it's not for everybody. So I think we just want to give people a choice. So when we're done, we're giving them a choice.
How do you avoid not going power mad or doing all that at home? I'd have all that there. It would have been just too much.
We did it in the office. We did it in the office. So we went to work and did it. Rather than being here. I live in a small village with unfortunately the broadband signals, the Wi-Fi signals, not great at times. So I wouldn't risk that. We have a very robust platform at work where we've got a backup system. So if anything were to happen and someone would put a JCB through, you know, a cable somewhere, we can flick a switch and go again. So I don't want to say bomb-proof, but it's robust. That's
normally the moment where we tempt fate and obviously the whole thing falls off. But I think this is really important, actually, isn't it? I think I don't know if it was you, Andrew, actually, when we were doing the judging for the Sunday Times and you won one of the awards at SDL. And the thing that jumped out at me in the entry was the amount of investment. You're not just, you've got great people in your business, you've got great processes, but actually the amount you invest in your technical side of things to make all this magic happen is considerable as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is. I mean, we have pioneered different ways for a long time. That this year really we've reaped the rewards and had the recognition for years of work that have gone before it. And the two things can't work without each other either. There's no having great people without the right tech to support that, or you can't scale the business. So the investment we've made over the years has now started to pay off. And we partner with some great people as well. So we're not all about wanting to reinvent the wheel or rule the world. It's about taking advantage of the best that's out there. And we embrace that and to deliver a great service.
And also, it's that I think it's that coupled with the fact that there's not the arrogance that says one way is the only way. So we do recognise that our customers are different, our clients are different, and they will have some choice in the way they can, where they can engage with us from an auction partnership. And if that's it, you know, and again, for the vendor, if it's the right thing that it goes to a time daily sale, then that's it. But if they want to go to that virtual room environment and it's priced right, absolutely they can do that. So it's kind of it's actually
flexibility, isn't it? It's more options. You're giving the consumer more choice, and that's only ever benefited, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think for us it's around saying, you know what, we might think that one way is the best or whatever. It is for each given circumstances, and nobody's circumstances are the same. So actually we've got to have some flex in what we do, and therefore we've got to, as you rightly say, you know, there's a lot that people take for granted that don't know what goes on behind the scenes of how we apply that complexity, if you like, that says, listen, we don't worry about it, we're the swans on the surface, but actually underneath there are teams of people and a load of investment that's gone on to make the tech that means that you can make those choices and it's easy. And the right, you know, contracts go and the right, you know, and again, that's a big part of the integrity behind the scenes that says, actually, everybody wants this to be as transparent as possible, knowing the fact that, you know, we want people to, you can't get them to sign in blood whether they've read a legal pack or not, but, you know, but the onus is on to them to make sure we do, and we need to signpost them wherever we can to do that and to check those things. But, you know, we're not the police, but at the same token, we've got to be doing the right thing by our clients, because it's what drives us as a business, I think.
But Dale will know this much better than me from a marketing stance. But once you demystify something and you give a level of transparency and that accessibility to what we already know, in the right circumstances, auctions are the best way of securing the best price, isn't it? There, again, this approach of again, as we said, giving access to more is only going to improve the benefits to ultimately to the end client and what they're going to achieve, the quickest possible sale at the best possible price.
Definitely.
That's the thing.
I think this as well has made it. Sorry, Tal, I think this opening that up to a wider reach and exposing more people to it who may not be auction savvy as well is, you know, we have championed honesty, integrity, transparency through the journey, and it's become even more important to make sure that people know what they're getting themselves into. So in an auction environment, normally at the beginning of the sale, you know, you would read the riot act to the potential bidders that, you know, you need to make sure you've done X, Y, and Z. So we have gone over and above on an educational point of view to make sure that people, as it does, the reach does widen. We don't have people sleepwalking into something that they might later regret. It's become more and more common for fees to be included in auction sales as well. And I work with the RRCS and on their steering committee for ethics, and we are looking constantly to make it more transparent and fairer for people so they know, you know, what they're getting into, which, you know, makes Dale's job even more exciting as to, you know, having a really clear message for people. And it's all a good message. It's all good news.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You're right to use the word demystifying, Simon. I think that's at the heart of it. Giving people access to more information, using the tech to facilitate things for human beings rather than the other way around, and helping people to understand the process they're going through. It's at the heart of what this business is all about, really. It's one of my favourite things about working here, that tech never gets introduced for the sake of tech. It's always to help the human beings at the start of that process. And it's kind of back to what Andy was saying about what live streaming means. It just means we're able to offer that personal service, as well as being transparent and efficient and effective as an organisation.
Yeah, excellent. And look, we're here all resplendent in our Christmas scenes. I'm guessing you will have got a number of nice Christmas cards from clients, obviously, because it hasn't just been about helping, you know, your revenue streams and keeping your business going, but for many of these agencies, they must have been hugely thankful that they've teamed up with you at the start of the process before going into lockdown, where this was one of the main areas they were going to receive revenue. Absolutely. We were really quick on that Monday night / Tuesday morning to reach out to our partners to say, what can we do? What can we do right now to help you, to support you? And as the days and the weeks rolled on, when furlough schemes were rolled out and people were struggling from a
a resource point of view, we did all that we could in a very unselfish way. So it wasn't what could we get out of this, it was very much about what can we do to help right now. So I think I'll let Louise add to this, but we've certainly got some very warm relationships with people who are grateful for our help and support at what was an awful time for everybody.
Well, you've got with perfect timing. Ray Purchase has just jumped in to say we can honestly say SDL have helped us earn throughout all of COVID, which is fantastic. Fantastic feedback, isn't it? Just to reiterate everything you're saying. Thanks, Ray, for jumping in on that.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. It is, and I think we didn't take that for granted. And sometimes it can be, I don't think any of us was sitting there thinking, oh, this is an opportunity to gain from it. It was, how do we survive? Everybody did that. Initially, it really was. And this is a community that's helped us grow in the last few years and taken our business to a different scale of those estate agency partnerships that we've got. I think, I know Andy and I had that. We don't care if we make a penny. And actually, we used our resource and not furloughed some of our auction experts team. Some of them were literally just phoning up val requests from some of our agents and literally just keeping leads warm. So it wasn't that they were phoning up because they wanted an auction. We might have stumbled by accident on a couple of those, but genuinely it was, we were dealing with their internet lead inquiries because they didn't have any staff. And they weren't, we're a large business with, an IT department and infrastructure and, had the technology that meant that we were overnight able to work from home, and our teams were. And we, everybody had laptops and everybody, we were really, really lucky. And it, wish that some of it was foresight, but it was luck, some of it really was. And some of those, the businesses that we partner with are small businesses who are run by entrepreneurs who don't have that infrastructure, who suddenly couldn't have all their teams working from home because the minute they shut their office, they didn't have a system, or they didn't have cloud-based, CRMs or all sorts of things like that they didn't have access to. And so, it was very heartfelt to say, what can we do to help this industry survive? And I think we're still in a bit of that. Let's not, kid ourselves. There's going to be some tough calls come the end of furlough. And I think what we're really keen to do is going, if you've seen the power of what we can do to help you, and it is very much about being another string to your bow. If you can see that there's some help out there, then we'll have a better relationship going forward. And that's what it's about. So it becomes less transactional and less about, how much does everybody get out of it, but how does it make you feel, as well as actually really helps my business. So this should be a part of what we do every day and every month and every week that says, what about those opportunities for auction? And if we've won some good grace by approaching it the right way, then, happy days, because it felt like the right thing to do as well. So
Thanks. Do you think agents have done enough to adapt to the changing market this year? I mean, some of them have had to, but ultimately, as you just highlighted there, there will be a bump in the road, because actually back in May or June, if you'd offered this marketplace to anyone, everyone would have snapped your hands off and frankly wouldn't have believed we were going to be bouncing back to this. But that will change at some stage. So do you think those agents have changed enough, or have too many of them fallen back into kind of old habits?
I think there's too much survival going on for everybody. I think even us as an auction industry, take SDL auctions outside, SDL property auctions outside of that. But genuinely, as an industry, there is still a lot more to move from an auctions point of view, because some people are still hedging their bets that things are going to go back, to the way they are. And I think still estate agents are adjusting to, the different types of people. And, sometimes even in the supplier world that we're in for estate agency, it's changed. We used to have business development managers that drove around the country and did 20 or 30,000 miles and, literally went in and visited estate agents. We don't do that anymore, and I don't know whether any of us know whether that will come back. I hope it does to a point, but actually it is about how we add value. So if I don't think that I'm going to add value by calling in to see that business, or that business doesn't see that there's a value. So I think all of it is still yet to play for. I think there's a huge amount of adjustments to come in 2021. I think because there will be some movement within that high street estate agency space, I think we'll see more self-employed models becoming stronger. I think there'll be more consolidation with branch networks, and creating that more hub environment. And for us, we've just got to be there ready to move with those changes that our community in estate agencies are moving to. So whether that's we've got more functional training and more accessible, because we won't be going to visit those smaller branches, perhaps. I don't know. Some of them will survive, some of them will become more boutique brands. And I think there's still a lot to come in 2021. I think, we can just hope we get over the first 6 months, and then we can steadily grow beyond that, really.
What can we expect to see from you guys specifically there? Have you got plans for 2021 that's going to? This is where you start to tease me and say I can't say, isn't it? But
can't possibly tell you unless you signed an NDA.
Yeah.
We've got some really exciting plans for 2021, and we're going to keep our powder dry and some of that. But yeah, we've got some really.
But of course, you'll be releasing them on the Kerfuffle platform, won't you? That's now we've got the whole pink thing going on. You can't go anywhere else.
No. I think we've got even more challenges for Dale coming his way, and for us, it's about adding value and to our estate agency partners and our partnerships in our corporate world. It's about how we add more value and become less transactional and more relationship led in what we do. So we want to be a really important part of their business, and challenging ourselves to make sure we show up in that way. So.
Yeah, and from a marketing point of view, it's kind of building on the foundations of this rebrand. Really, you're right to say, Simon. I think things will continue to change. I think consumers' expectations have moved on, and our role, I suppose, as an auction business, working with those estate agencies to demystify and to make auctions much more approachable for consumers who are in that motivated vendor category.
Excellent. And look, as we've highlighted, it's been a difficult year for agents. If there's one bit of advice, other than use SDL property auctions, of course, what bit of advice would you give agents at the moment?
My advice would be to absolutely look after your clients, because I think that's the one thing that service is the thing that's going to shine out of this. So for those agents who really look after their clients, I don't just mean their vendor clients either, I mean their buyer clients, but for me that's probably the bit of gold I would share.
Because a key point there, isn't it, Andrew, is that the public are tremendously unforgiving for, whilst they say, we understand we're in the middle of a pandemic, they still demand instant customer service despite what everyone's going through there. But therein lies the opportunity. If you can show yourself to deliver that customer service while other standards are dropping, the gap is ever more obvious and prominent, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think so a conversation again I've had quite recently is in days gone by, people may have been busy at work and they've sent you an email in the morning. They expect a response back from you at some point. I think it was Lou and I have had this conversation in the last few days. They expect a response back at some point during the course of the day. Right now, people are sending an email. They want a response back within minutes. And if you don't fulfill their expectations, you disappoint. And as soon as you disappoint, the relationship's in a different place.
It used to be you'd be happy waiting 10 minutes for a cab, wasn't it? Now, if they're more than 3 minutes, you're like, throwing your hands in the air with, it's the Uberization of expectation, isn't it?
It is in everything that we do. So, but yeah, I would say look after your gold is where I would be.
Yeah, I think for me, it's about, it's all of those things with that level of authentic care that says you care about the outcome. and you've understood what that outcome is. Because I think that's the point of it. Everybody it's too easy to focus on what you do, not what somebody needs as the outcome. And I think that goes for us as a business about listening more to our clients and what they're trying to achieve. And it goes down, it percolates down to what does that end consumer need, and how do we fit that need and genuinely care about them getting that right outcome. Because it will be different for everybody, and so long as you care and communicate well on it, I think that's the reality is that it might not, those expectations are, you will forgive that Uber driver that to be 10 minutes late if they give you that great experience within 2 minutes to say they're going to be 10 minutes. It's about that experience along the way, that says, oh my God, they've connected with me. They know I need to get somewhere. It's what they need to do. And that's what we need to do. That's what we're here for. We're here to realise somebody's goal of moving on a property in some way. And they're not always for bad reasons. It's not just always death, divorce and, desperation. It can be for some really good reasons. And I think there'll be some economical things that people, influences that people will make some choices in what they do and how they invest and how they live. I think we've all had times of reflection about where we live in the world, where we're, how we interact with our work, with the people. It's been a really, really unprecedented is an understatement. It feels like sometimes, isn't it? So what is that? We've never spent so much time reflecting on the things that matter to us. And I think businesses have to do the same thing. It's what, we've had some deep meaningful, after a really long day of kind of what's it all about, Alfie, that says, how do we make sure that we love our jobs and that our people still feel that they're loved and cared about, and the fact that how that translates to keeping a shareholder board happy, as well as it's what's going to make it exciting for us all here to do our jobs. Because it ain't just about paper anymore. It's really not. It's much bigger than that now, and that's I think that's the tone of voice that I think we've got to be open-minded to what comes next year, really.
Yeah, and I think it's as difficult as it is when you're in survival mode. I think if there's one thing that I've learned from watching Andy, Louise, and the rest of the teams, and what's really led to what you could term a success for us as a business this year is staying true to those core values, no matter what you're doing. Even when you are trying to survive, sourcing that survival tactic and technique, I suppose, in what your core values are, will pay off, I think, as you go forwards, and your customers can see what you truly stand for and that you did stay true to that.
Was one of your customers on our obviously on the site actually talking here in a bit of detail? Again, it's Ray from Wirral Residential Buyers Auctions. Having worked with the team at SDL Auctions for a few years now, they've definitely become part of our team. With over £35,000 of fees banked in the first year, things have just gone from strength to strength. Looking forward to many more years working together. That's where you move from being a supplier to a partner, isn't it? Which is, of course, what we're all trying to do. I should say, just before we go on, because you have got a wonderful deal for us, but it would be remiss of me not to actually show the wonderful actually branding that we've got on board. So there we are. If everyone can see that there we are with does what it says on the tin, Property Auctions, and the wonderful pink there in the new brand. So that's great to be able to see that in there. I should have done that at the beginning, but you know what, I get it all mixed up.
If I'd had the green screen, that's what you would have seen behind me as well. There we go.
Well, no, we didn't want to miss the Santa scene. The grotto was wonderful. It's helped me really get into the Christmas mode as it rains down there. And then just remains to be said, I think you've been really kind, haven't you, and given a deal for our Kerfuffle members if they're interested in having a conversation. Which, as I should say, if you're looking at strategizing, looking at thinking about what can you do differently for 2021, now's the time to talk to you guys. What can you do to help them out with that decision-making process, Louise?
Well, I think first off is that we will put every resource we need to get you up and running for 2021. So I know it's the 8th of December already, and we'll be blinking and we'll be eating our pigs in blankets, if not maybe later tonight. But in all seriousness, we can get you set up quickly. What we're committed to doing is making sure that you have your own branding set of white labeled brochure material to be able to talk and educate your clients around this at a market appraisal, and an e version of that. So you've got a PDF that you can email out. So we'll do that all in your own branding, with the story about how to position auctions for your clients, and buyer and seller guides in the relation to that. But we will also do a white labeled microsite, which with very ease will, just with a little button on your website, will become your auctions website. And so it'll be really helpful to, launch off a new part to your business without any direct investment other than your time and commitment to talk about auctions. Right. So it won't cost you anything other than the time to take that Zoom call or Teams call with me or one of the team, and we'll get you cracking and up and running.
And that's great. And you've got that till the end of the year as well. So act quickly, guys. Get to them now. Obviously, while it starts to just come off a little bit in terms of the market. Have a chat with Louise, Dale, or Andrew, and I'm sure they'll be able to talk to you about the huge benefits they can bring to your business. Guys, thank you very much for the update again. Sounds like you had a really good year at exactly the right time for when agents needed you. So that's to be applauded as ever. I'm glad to see it's going so well, and please do bear us in mind when you launch your fantastic new ideas.
We will, don't you worry. There's lots more to come for us, and hopefully just more evidence of bringing those relationships on. That's what we want to do going into 21.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.